what's this business situation framework with which you can always or almost always solve business situation problems? It might be a more quantitative focus, so reduce costs of a company. So that's more numbers and reduce this 10%, 5%. And this is inside the profitability framework, either increasing revenues or decreasing costs. It changes the profitability. It might be a more conceptual problem. So what product should we launch? Then it's more, so what are the needs of our customers? Who are we aiming at, or who do we want to sell that to? It's more conceptual, more qualitative. But many cases are a mix of those two. So they're like, I had 4% less revenues or profits. What can I do to turn around the situation? Then you realize with numbers, so what was the revenues, costs, what went down, what went up, by how much, quantitative, and then you have to understand what the customers are and why they're not buying that much anymore, or why this one competitor is stealing market share from us. So most of the times it's a combination, quantitative and qualitative. Any questions? So let's do an example. So I'm going to do one example instead of two. A chewing gum manufacturer has been having, or had last year, 5% less profit. So, okay, profit went down 5%. Then what's profit? Revenues minus costs. Now, very first question I would ask for, I would state my hypothesis. So, if profits have declined, it means that either revenues have declined or costs have gone up, or both. So, let's start with the assumption that revenues went down. And I asked the interviewer, do we have any information on revenues? Did it go down? I'm going to say, no. Revenues have stayed the same. So here we have the same revenues as last year. So 5% is compared to last year, right? So we know that costs have gone up. Then you might think, well, cool. It's not a problem with revenues. A lot of people think that. They just stayed stable. Problem is with costs that have gone up. Long story short, because there's a lot to see, you gotta go like down costs and you're gonna ask, did costs increase? Did labor costs increase? No. Did raw material costs increase? No. Everything we buy at the same price. Still costs have increased. How can that be? One less book. So I manufacture chewing gums, and for chewing gum A, I still pay the same price for the gum, the same price for the flavor, the same price for the packaging, and for all sorts of chewing gum, I pay the same. And fixed costs have also stayed constant.
It could be that we sold more units, but to a lower price, and due to the fact that we sold more units, we had to produce more units, so we had higher costs, and our profits declined because the revenues per sold product decreased.
Yeah, that's one. If I told them that the price has stayed the same.
Do we assume that we don't have lending costs? Because if we do, it might be that interest rates went up.
Good point. No, we assume only operating costs, so labor related to the products. But both points could explain it. Anyone else have a guess?
For example, overheads increased?
All fixed costs.
Fixed costs.
Overhead can be seen as fixed cost. Again, the price for each chewing gum has stayed the same. The cost for each chewing gum has also stayed the same. Still, costs have increased.
Not so efficient production.
So the cost per chewing gum, the variable cost is, so the production cost is under variable costs, and that's also stable. So that's also stayed the same.
What about quality production?
That would have been an increase in production costs, I would say.
Write-downs. For example, write-downs were not production costs.
Write-downs?
Not write-down.
Depreciation or amortization?
Well, yeah, depreciation can also be an issue, but let's say you have more faults in the production
breaks,
process.
machine breaks, and
and even though your production costs stay the same, you have more stuff that you have to write down, for example, as a loss.
I would also put that in the variable costs, so that's related to the efficiency. Also a point, but it's the same.
We produce too many units and produce for the inventory, so we increase our inventory so that we have higher costs.
That's a very-
we can sell it.
It's a very good and business administration student answer, because a lot of other people think that, well, what I produce I sell, but you think a lot of broader, and there's a stock, and if I don't sell it, it's not going to be profit. Could also be, but we're assuming. So I'm going to say the answer. So actually, and this is a very, very important point you always should consider, we have two kinds of chewing gums. Non-flavored and flavored chewing gums. They all cost the same, the prices for producing them is the same, but the margin is different. For flavored chewing gums, we need one extra component, we need the flavor. That adds an extra step to the production, and that costs also money. So what happened is that we are now selling more of the flavored chewing gum and less of the non-flavored. So now we're selling the same in amount of euros, but we're selling more of those for which the margin is lower. So the costs for flavored are higher, so we have an increase of cost, even though every chewing gum has stayed at the price of every chewing gum has stayed the same in cost. So that you would only crack this case or get this issue if you segmented the revenues. So for no company, revenues are just product times price times units, because you always sell different types of units, different types of products, or it might be reasonable to segment it in geography. Like I said, BMW is having problems selling cars in Europe, but in Brazil or China, they're really selling well. So you only get this problem if you segment the revenues. So why is the profitability framework so important? Reason number one for companies to go to consulting companies. They're either making less money, or they want to make more money, or usually one of those two. That's why they pay a lot for consultants. A lot of cases start with a profitability problem, so it's important for you to get this right and consolidate this. Variable costs, fixed costs, revenues, number of units times price, but are there different products? Are there different geographies? Are there different sales channels? So again, the reasons why this might happen. And the framework that you always should have in your mind ready. So this is the chewing gum manufacturer example. Let's go now to the Core 3 framework.